Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cartridge Quarters. My name is Adam CS Radical, joined by me, the illustrious Just Chris, aka Jen and Chris.
Just Chris, Jen and Chris. I like that.
That's the thing now. That's our gimmick.
Yep.
Otherwise, how you doing on this fine Thursday afternoon? I mean, Saturday morning.
It's Saturday morning, which is why I'm drinking coffee.
Yeah, it's not that you have, any sort of like coffee addiction or anything.
Absolutely not. No one has told me to slow down. No one, ever.
And you've responded by speeding up.
Oh yeah. That just made me feel like I needed more coffee. Obviously, right?
Well, clearly you took a sip.
I did, and it was delicious.
Not
so
that
I'm
you
great.
would know if you were listening to the audio version, in which case, YouTube. Search up pixelplaypodcast, and you'll find this show on that channel. So if you want to see our lovely faces, mostly Chris's, but mine too.
We have both lovely faces. But if you'd like to see me drinking coffee, it's like visual ASMR, you know? Then you need to see the YouTube video. Because if not, you're just going to maybe hear it. And that's not fun. No one wants to just hear it.
I mean, you say that, but I mean, you go to Twitch, and there are definitely a lot of things that people are okay with just seeing.
Yeah, we apparently have to have a hot tub, a shower stream. There's so many different streams now that just show up. So we're going to have to figure that out.
We're working on it, all right? We're working on it. And by working on it, I mean, we've talked about it as a joke, and then that's as far as it's gone. So
it'll be a retro shower or a retro hot tub to keep with, obviously, like a shower in an old arcade or something.
That sounds like work and money, and I don't think either of us want to do that or have that.
Either we have to build or buy an arcade and up.
This is already turning into a quite massive venture.
Yeah, it sounds like a mission at a Grand Theft Auto 5 online, and which is fun, but not in real life.
Well, I guess in the meantime we can just do our normal thing, of just doing this podcast here that's usually about retro games, mostly about bashing Square and the like. But because our usual Wednesday episode of Pixel Play was not done because both Kaylin and I were just ill on the day that we usually record, Chris and I figured it'd be good to just take like 15 minutes and just kind of go over a couple of the stories that we would have done on the Wednesday show. So this is not just going to be that. We're just going to roll through a couple of quick stories here and then go back to bashing Square. The usual. So the first thing, apparently the UK government wants to bash the hell out of gaming companies because, as VGC is reporting here, they basically are telling the industry to hey, you should probably regulate loot boxes and things like that against, minors or children especially. Otherwise, we're not going to hesitate to consider legislation if they're not going to put in sufficient members to keep players safe. And this has been something that's been going on since 2020. They've been the UK's Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. They were looking into that. Loot boxes is kind of considered under that gambling aspect, and as a lot of people figure, minors aren't supposed to be gambling.
Oh, yeah, apparently they're not.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that they've been like, hey, can we do something? And it seems like that problem is still ongoing, so now it's starting to get to a point be like, hey, figure the shit out, or we're going to start, making you figure your shit out.
Yeah,
and which
is good.
It just goes down to, like I've said before, I think in general loot boxes should just go away, period. Because
they should go away.
They don't have any use other than making companies money. Because let's be honest, most of those things are digital-only products for a game that they will shut down because it usually also has to do with online services, and then it's now useless currency because you can't sell the products. So it's not like you can win, let's say in FIFA, a Cristiano Ronaldo card and then go and sell it to somebody else's account for, even if it was just in-game currency, it would be something.
Yeah, it would be something.
And I think there is sometimes an auction house for these kind of things, but they aren't always viable. But especially in the odds of you can't even sell your account to maybe you'll make if you're not going to play the game anymore, and at least you can get some of your money back that you've probably, especially in some cases, spent hundreds of dollars on, God forbid.
Yeah.
But no, that's not an option. It's why, for a while, as much as it was a little bit predatory the way that the CSGO skins were, at least you could make money doing it because you could sell them. But in the case of so many other games, you can't.
Yeah. Steam Marketplace is kind of one of those few times where it was okay, this is not actually as bad.
It's still not a great option, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that it's also the UK that this is coming from because I know with FIFA especially, the UK, I've seen way too many news stories of like 14-year-old kid spends $4,000 on FIFA
And it's not
crap
even their money usually.
and it's not their money. I mean, no 14-year-old has a credit card. It can't be their own money. It's always their parents. And I mean, ugh, I
I
would
mean,
die.
there's a lot to say in terms about the parenting part of things, but also at the same
Yeah.
time, yeah, that's kind of bullshit, and the parent is now screwed for $4,000. Like,
Yeah.
that's not good. Like, in especially in the economy that we live in today, and not to mention just from the relationship standpoint of a kid and their parents now. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that kid's not allowed to have the credit card set up on their PS5 ever again. That's just not happening.
No.
They will receive PSN gift cards towards a PlayStation Store at Christmas, scheduled per year, which has a limit.
But yeah, it's definitely just one of those cases where like it's been ongoing for such a long time because loot boxes have been a thing for at least a decade now, it feels like, if not longer. Because, you know, you take, like, especially with the sports games, I'm trying to think, actually, you know what? When did Ultimate Team start? Because that's the immediate example really come into play. Has it really only been... When is this article from? It can't only be 5 years. There's no goddamn way.
No, I feel like it's old because I remember like 2016 or so hearing about this shit.
Because, like, I'm seeing... Oh, yeah, this is a really old article, that's why. So it might have been... Yeah, it was 2009. So it's been 13 years since FIFA 09 was the first one to... Or no, FIFA 10 was the first one to do it. No, this is a really conflicting article. It was a downloadable expansion in 09, and then it was officially available in the game going forward from that one. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, it's been like around for a long time.
That is brutal. That is really brutal.
So the fact that we're 13 years in and we're still trying to figure out how to regulate it, because isn't it interesting that when it's money being made by corporate, it takes way longer to do, but the second somebody's spine gets ripped out of a video game, you need to do something immediately? It's so interesting how that works in government, right? If money's involved, all of a sudden it takes longer. But if it's about saving the children, except unless it costs people money, because, you know, we like making money on the constituents that fund our accounts, we just ignore it, apparently. So, I mean, either way, it's nice to see that, I guess, progress is being done, but that's also assuming that it does, because for all you know, couple like 6 to 7 digit, you know, transactions get made, some voices get a little quieter, and all of a sudden we're back to ground zero again and whatever.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Hopefully something comes from this. Actually, no. Hopefully UK doesn't even need to step in because the gaming companies, EA especially, just changes loot boxes, regulates them. I mean, hopefully gets rid of them, but that's not going to happen.
Like, we don't think it's asking much, too. Like, if you want to keep the loot boxes, fine. Like, we can get people above the age of gambling, of majority to, you know, I guess, use their brain and if not, suffer the financial consequences of their own actions, I guess. But in the case of younger children, especially those that are not supposed to be able to do this in the first place, we should probably be doing everything we can to protect them and their families because, yeah, a multi-$1,000 charge on your card is not going to go over well.
No. Like, I don't understand what was wrong with just normal cosmetics. Like, you just spent $3 and it got you the cool car in Rocket League. The gambling thing just makes it then more money because then you don't get that car. You have to buy the thing over and over and over and over so that hopefully you get the car.
Yeah, because I mean, we can go through like as much as we have through history with even things like expansion packs, you know, from the older days to bring it back to retro stuff. But in general, I think as we've evolved, like a lot of us kind of understand the same or agree on the same facet of microtransactions in that, you know, if it's something that is guaranteed, if it's something that, you know, can in some way transform the game that I'm playing, it's fine. Even the price doesn't necessarily matter because we'll dictate how much the price is because if you charge $20 for a skin, not that many people are going to pay for it. But if you charge, say, $2-3 for something, you know, it's not, I don't even think it should be that much, but if that's what it is and people are willing to pay for it, then that's the market. But in the case of things that, like, you know, with a lot of these sports games specifically, but even just in general with, like, loot boxes, as we saw with, like, Overwatch and other games too, it's just the idea of why should we ever be paying money for things that, A, don't necessarily transform the game because they're just skins, and B, you know, you aren't guaranteed to even get the things you want.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my huge issue with it. Like it's the gambling aspect of it. Well, like I agree with you if somebody's like 21 and they're over the age of majority in the country they live and they hurt themselves through this, like they're an adult, they know what the heck they did and it's their fault. But 14-year-old doesn't know. They don't know how much money is at that point. I was 14. Guaranteed had no idea the value of money yet.
I mean, we're both in our 30s. I don't think sometimes we know how much money means because, we buy dumb shit.
Oh, I buy so much dumb shit.
Yeah, like coffee.
Hey, you take that. Yeah, loot boxes. I don't like them. I like coffee, but I do not like loot boxes.
Now, here's a fun argument. Here is a devil's advocate position. Let's assume that loot boxes should be banned for those under the legal age of gambling in whatever country they live in. Would that, in theory, not mean that you shouldn't be allowed to sell trading cards to minors because you may not necessarily get the ones you want either? Because if you play, say, FIFA Ultimate Team, you get cards.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily get the ones you might want. The same goes if you buy a pack of cards for Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Pokemon, whatever. I guess the automatic argument is it's physical, you can sell it, and it is something you can hold in your hand. So I guess that's the trade-off. But the argument could still be made that it's technically gambling in some aspect.
Yes. I think if that ever got out of hand, then that would have been something they started to regulate.
Yeah, I don't think we don't see stories online about, a kid spending $4,000 of their parents' credit card on Magic cards. So
No. Like I bought Magic cards, Pokemon trading cards, baseball cards. Like I was into all of those too. And I think it's something about having the actual physical item and having to take physical money or like a debit card or whatever there.
Yeah, because like if a 12-year-old kid walks up with a Visa card, they're going to go, what?
Yeah, you can't have this. Whose is it? Yeah, like they won't be able to use their parents' Visa card. So even if they're using their own allowance, they know how much money they have.
Yeah.
And it's not just connected to some magic like digital account on their PlayStation. When they press the button, they instantly get something. Like they have to get off their couch, walk to a convenience store, find the card pack or comic store, buy the pack, and then open it. And I think it's just that because it's physically happening, their brain doesn't just like it actually keeps all of the like alerts, the red flags in their head, like, oh, this is real money I'm spending.
And I guess with a physical transaction as well, with a credit card, you still need the verification pin normally, or if, unless there's tap, in which case I guess that's why I don't like having tap on my cards, because I would rather not have to think about that problems if somebody suddenly had the card and they could just go boop. Yeah. But in the case of like most things with physical editions, like it's a money transfer that's in person, so it's a lot harder to just go and because I mean if you register a credit card to a PlayStation account, you just hit the button, it's done. There's no worry about it, so it's very easy to fall into that trap. But exactly. I just thought it was really interesting to see that more progress is potentially being done on at least regulating this better, because it really does need to.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, it does. It's ridiculous.
I mean, if we had it our way, they wouldn't exist, but that's not how business works, unfortunately, because EA still exists, so say la vie.
Yeah, it's all EA. Well, like 90%, but still.
And then other than that, a couple of small notes here. Officially, PlayStation and Bungie have now... It's closed, the deal is done, everything is good to go, which is great timing because you just downloaded Destiny 2 not too long ago. I don't think you've started it yet apart from the tutorial, but it's a thing.
Yeah, I've done the first mission, which was like press A to jump. Like it was very, very tutorial-like.
I have been trying for a long time to get this guy to try it.
Yeah, okay. And from what I have played so far, I definitely see the appeal. 100%, I see it. It's a looter shooter. It's like Borderlands, but a lot more serious.
And honestly, with Bungie, you've got that like high class of FPS controls. Because like between them and Call of Duty, I think they both are like the marquee name for it. Call of Duty does like the most smooth, like cookie cutter version of it, whereas Destiny takes a few more chances, obviously with things like, the different classes, like the Warlock being more of a hover than a jump, because Hunter, which is the character that I told you to start with, is more of a jump, so you can either do like a high jump or a triple jump, because you either get 2 or 3 depending on which one you pick. but they do traversing with a lot more gusto and a lot more precision. Whereas I think Call of Duty is more about the shooting mechanics, whereas with Destiny, it's more of a line of the mobility. There's actual platforming puzzles if you're doing raids, and then obviously the extra like abilities, like all the finishing attacks and all the extra like grenades and throwing, a bit like melee abilities. So there's a little. It's almost like a mixture between like WoW and Call of Duty is like the best way of looking at Destiny. It's like a bridge between the two.
Oh, 100%. It's an MMO mixed with a looter shooter, and it's a perfect mix.
And
I mean, I've only played
now.
it. Yeah, I've only played so much, but like I'm into it.
Yeah, once we get things going with you, you'll definitely see why I have spent way too much time in that fucking series over the last like. Actually, when was Destiny 1 out? It's not gonna be retro anytime soon, but that's gonna be my days of back in my day.
I want to say it was
2014.
Like...
So yeah, it's now.
Okay.
So now the series as a whole is about 8 years old. So.
I mean, I'm into it. I'm excited to get into it. Oh, so excited. And the fact that PlayStation and them are now merged officially, that's a good win for PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
That's a really good win.
It's a very ironic win too, because it's like literally owning like what used to be Xbox's marquee company. So it's kind of a way of being like, you guys can go own Bethesda all you want. You can go grab these people if you want to. We got your old, we got your ex.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like when I was playing Banjo-Kazooie on my Xbox, and I was like, Xbox owns N64. It's so weird.
Actually, it's really interesting when you think about it, because Xbox now has also purchased Activision Blizzard, which means not only did Bungie leave Xbox, they also left the company that Xbox has now bought. So technically, that's now X removed twice.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I forgot that they were a part of that, because Destiny was on the Battle.net launcher, and the Battle.net launcher sucks.
Yeah, it's not that great.
No,
yeah,
it's
just excited to see that team is now official, and we'll see how that goes moving forward. I mean, obviously, you got to wonder whenever there's a Destiny 3, because I'm pretty sure that they're going to be getting sooner than that, because I think they need to do 1 or 2 more expansions with this current arc that they're in Destiny 2, and I think that might be the last one. And then maybe we'll start prepping for what's a Destiny 3 at this point, but we'll see. I have no idea. I didn't know there was going to be a Destiny 2 when it first got announced, so God only knows. The last thing is now, speaking of Sony, is I have a sticking point. A while ago, Destiny announced, or not Destiny, Sony announced a partnership with Discord. And yet there is an article as of 3 days ago, I forgot, it's Saturday morning actually, July the 20th, that for Xbox consoles, Discord voice chat is coming. To which I have to go, Sony, I mean, I own an Xbox now, but what the fuck, bro?
Yeah. They announced it like a year and a half ago or something, didn't they?
All we've gotten is integration so you can have your status on Discord. That's the best you can do. To the point now that if I want to share my gameplay with friends on Discord, I now have my OBS studio. I have a separate one just for this purpose, where I take the stream from that and throw it into Discord so that people can see my gameplay there, because somehow a year and a half or so later, however long it's been, Sony's like, we made it so that people can see what you're playing in Discord.
Yeah.
I'm not that upset. I'm just more of like, really, guys? Come on.
Yeah, and Xbox didn't even announce this was going to be coming. It's almost like they saw Sony's announcement.
The update's started today or yesterday, or sorry, 3 days ago. This is a bad habit. But it's going to start being available soon for everybody else. It's just Xbox insiders that are getting it rolled out to them now. But like, Sony, you better respond to that now. You better be calling Discord and be like, okay, how soon can we push this forward now? Because, this makes us look really bad.
Was this Microsoft or Xbox's response to Sony stealing their ex Bungie? Was this like announced on the same day?
It's all coming full circle.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy. I also have an Xbox. I think it'd be cool that if I'm playing an Xbox game to just join, because Discord makes it so much easier, as you and I have used Discord for many things.
Because look, I don't have a problem with Sony voice chat, but Discord is better. Like, that's just the thing. It's not that Sony's bad. It's not that Xbox is bad. Discord is just 10 times better.
Yeah, and if it is going to be just like a normal voice chat, like you can have people who are on their phones, on their PlayStation, on their Xbox, like this will help for crossplay. This would help for everything
But even if it,
if
even not
Discord got
crossplay,
integrated.
just the fact that like you can sit there at your on your couch instead of needing to like, because I'm at a desk, it's easy. I can have a PlayStation running and Discord on my PC at the same time. It's no problem. But for
Oh yeah.
somebody else, especially if it's on their phone too, no less, you can be on Discord and you can still talk to your friends that are also playing with this on their PlayStation when they're sitting on their couch, or if they're in their bedroom just lying on their bed chilling. And you got somebody who's also playing on PC at their desk. Like, it gives the option that you don't have to suddenly find like some weird solution to do this. Like, it's just integrated in everybody's software so everybody can use it. This should have been done a long time ago, but I guess,
Yeah.
technology is difficult apparently.
I think it's also just a lot of companies before were hesitant, just like with crossplay and stuff. Because it's like, well, if you can buy the game on PlayStation and play with your friend on Xbox, then maybe the person who would have bought it on Xbox won't buy it now, and Microsoft will lose money and blah, 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 blah. So each company was a little hesitant until a couple of them went forward. And then if you held back, like Sony did, actually, I think for a little bit, not too long, but that little
Yeah,
bit.
once
And then,
somebody started, it was going to be impossible to go back.
yeah,
As soon
yeah.
as soon as somebody took the step forward, everybody's like, "Oh, we're doing it." And
Oh,
some companies were like, and then we're all being like, "Why aren't you doing it?"
yeah. You know, it'd be super funny. And this would make you rage, and that's what I mean by funny. It'd be
If
funny for
Nintendo
me.
Switch gets it too.
Yes, right? But like before Sony. Like the Switch that doesn't even have voice chat all of a sudden gets Discord.
No, it'll be Google
And
Stadia that gets it first.
oh, wow. Yeah? Who knows? Actually, that I could see.
I
I
mean,
don't
you can
know
probably.
why.
I wonder. You could probably already do it with Steam Deck. I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can put Discord on there. I think it just runs as a non-Steam game.
Yeah,
Yeah. But that'd be funny if it was Switch. And like Switch maybe gets like video calls or something too. Like you can attach a webcam and go full
that'll be a new
Discord.
Switch at that point. That hardware can't handle that.
I have no idea.
But
Probably not.
but either way, I'm slightly miffed. Let's go with that.
Yes. Yeah. Xbox does what Sony don't. Pulling, going
Uh,
back to the retro.
it's that was them being like, you know what they need to do just to end off this? They need to do what Sony did at that one E3, where they just be like, here's how to log into Discord on your Xbox, and just do boop, done.
Yeah. Oh, oh, so good. I
But
mean, I
either
hope
way,
Sony does it. Yeah.
this is a retro show, so why don't we actually talk about some level of retro games?
Oh yeah.
Now, remember how I said we were going to bash Square?
Not yet. We have something good to say.
Yeah, unfortunately. Once in a blue moon, something happened. It's not like it's necessarily a good thing that Square's done. It's just a thing that has happened over time. So,
True.
as we have learned from Gamatsu, Final Fantasy X, aka one of my favorites of all time, although no longer my favorite of all time, it's moved down the list as time has gone on. But that's kind of unfair because I think there's recency bias with 7 Remake. But hey, that's a whole nother conversation.
A whole other one, yeah.
But the shipments in total from either physical, digital, and that includes now the remasters, they have now hit over 20 million. They are currently sitting at around 20.8 million, about 14-ish for the original release on PS2, and now with counting the remaster, it's up to now 20.8, which for a single JRPG is kind of crazy in retrospect,
Oh
especially one
yeah.
that's that old. Even the fact that they sold 14 million copies on PS2, even though, again, the PS2 was a very high selling console, JRPGs are still kind of a niche. Like, I know a lot of
Yeah.
people, especially in our neck of the woods in retro, we all are pretty well versed in those games because a lot of us grew up with it. But still, it's not that like well known as people think it is. Final Fantasy as a name is well known, but not everybody was playing a lot of these.
No, yeah, it's pretty impressive because like I remember back when I would like the FF10 was new, I knew only one or two other people at the time that were even excited there was a new Final Fantasy. It was kind of like there was the people that got on board with 7 because it was like the big first one on PlayStation 1 and it was a big deal. But by then they died off. Like they played 7, 8 came out and most of them didn't even pick up
And
that.
then
It
9
was
came out and they probably all hated it because it was old school.
yeah.
Honestly.
Oh yeah. And yeah, so everybody else had kind of died off except for me and like two other people. And we played Final Fantasy X. It was the three of us out of all of the people that I knew in high school slash beginning of university times, which is bonkers to think that so like back then it was so niche. It's not as bad now. I think JRPG is a little bit more well known,
Yeah,
but
I mean, you're seeing things like obviously Persona's a big deal now. Trails of Cold Steel, now soon to be Trails into Reverie, I believe, is the new one. Like the Legend of Heroes is starting to become at least aware to some people now. Final Fantasy is doing its thing, although it's hard to call it JRPG sometimes with the way that it's not like what it used to be. Star Ocean used to be a thing that's kind of died off because it's just not had a decent release for like 3 generations, unfortunately. Chrono could have been a big name, but obviously Square hates money, so that's a thing.
Oh, that hurts me.
But like there are still like the mainstays these days, like Dragon Quest, it's still a big deal when those get announced. And obviously, especially these days with Steam and just indie developers altogether, like it's not just, you know, the big companies anymore. People are just popping out their own like variations of stuff. There's a recent one I believe called Monarch that is kind of like an homage to the old like Shin Megami Tensei games. And a lot of people now are taking like obviously what the success of Persona's done and being like, oh, so we should start putting things like, you know, like life sims or dating sims like within our games. Like you see random games like Boyfriend Dungeon and stuff that are coming out that are kind of homaging some of these, you know, Japanese games over the years. So, and even like Yakuza is now moving into a JRPG series. So that's like
true. That is true.
So it's becoming a thing that it's not necessarily as niche as it used to be, but it's still like it's not your first person shooter, it's not your action adventure. It's not that level, but it's becoming more of a well-known thing to the point that you honestly don't even have to call it a JRPG series anymore. You can just call it we could even have like a turn-based RPG genre now instead of saying a JRPG, because that's usually what JRPGs used to mean, was that it was a turn-based game. For the longest time, that's what it was referring to. Now, a JRPG could be, you know, Persona 5, but it could also be something like, what's that friggin' Scarlet Nexus?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, it's very more applicable than it used to be. So now, in terms of, like, turn-based games for RPGs, there's now, like, it's coming from everywhere. It's not just what it used to be, where it was Japan pretty much had, like, the stranglehold on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, well, first of all, Square, you're welcome, because I bought 3 of those 20.8 million.
I was going to say, yeah, I have the original copy for PS2, and I do have the remaster on PS4. I'm trying to think if I got in a PC version. I don't know if I've done the PC version. I'm imagining that you probably have the original. I'm going to assume then a PC version and probably a Switch version.
Yes. I wanted to play it portable. I'm like, you know, Final Fantasy portable. There's nothing better. But I already had it on Steam.
So in other words, you should have waited for your Steam Deck.
Yeah, I guess. Actually, that's true. I hadn't even thought of that. Oh, well, I've already started Final Fantasy X-2. I've already beat Final Fantasy X. I actually beat that one on Steam, but I'm going to do X-2 on the Switch.
Have you actually finished X-2 before?
Oh, yeah. Back on PS2. Yeah. And loved it. Charlie's Angels Final Fantasy.
It's definitely one of those games that people love or hate, I found. Like, 10 was pretty universally loved. Like, some people kind of could have done without the ending being what it was, but it is what it is. I mean, again, like, it's the whole, like, classic, because, again, it's okay to spoil a 20-plus-year-old game at this point. It's the fact that, like, it's all a dream kind of level storytelling that makes people go, oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it that kind of storytelling, yeah.
Like, I recently went back and started playing through the remaster, and when I got to about the point that you learn that, I realized, like, going back and remembering the story as it goes, it kind of kills things a little bit when you get to that point. Because now all of a sudden, the game becomes less about the journey you're on and more about, so I'm probably dying, right? And it kind of takes away the adventure to it a little bit, because you're basically playing the game to end your adventure. It's almost like, kind of like what Link's Awakening is in a way.
Yeah, actually, that's very much because you're trapped in a dream. I think you're real, but the rest of everything else is a dream.
Yeah, like you're basically like, you're now playing to kill the world that you're in.
Yeah, whereas, was 10 the opposite? Like everybody was
10
real,
is you're living in, you're a dream that's been summoned into the world. You're like basically Tidus is an Aeon. You could almost make a case for.
Yeah. So yeah, that's tough, and it's weird because you had Yuna and she's on her pilgrimage, and it's like, oh, but she's gonna die. That's part of the pilgrimage, and then you've got Tidus, and it's like, just kidding. I'm actually a dream.
I guess you could make a case that Tidus is actually Yuna's final summon.
Yeah, this is
which is totally makes no sense because she acquires more Aeons in the process. But hey, it's not as fun to say she's his first summon because technically Valifor's her actual first Aeon, and that comes after Tidus ends up in the world. But hey, let's not worry about complicated JRPG lore because JRPGs never have complicated lore.
No, this is not complicated at all.
But either way,
Especially
like I obviously I played the game a bunch growing up, and I've played through it. I want to say I finished that game at least 5 or 6 times over the course of my life, going back every once in a while.
I'd say I'm about that too.
It's still a really good game. I think it's just one of those things too that, like, in retrospect, you're like, they could have done this a little bit better. There's definitely some changes they could have made to make this, less shitty.
Like in the remaster, you mean, to when they brought it back?
Well, no, even in general, like, but also storytelling back then with a lot of games was kind of touch and go. Because, I mean, obviously, like, Final Fantasy games just seem to have a knack for pulling out a different final boss at the end.
Oh, yeah. That's just Final Fantasy 9. You're chasing after, what's his name, Kuja?
Yeah.
The whole time. And then all of a sudden, you beat him or whatever happens with him. And then giant monster thing out of nowhere, final boss. Like, I'm here. It's like, who the hell are you? Like, I have no idea who or what you are. Like, you're literally a giant monster for no reason.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you take touch and go from the old days. Because again, like, some of them story-wise, like, I've played through the vanilla of 4 because I played the randomizer now. It's not great story-wise. It doesn't hold up very well.
No.
It's still better than the after years, but we don't talk about that.
Oh, God. Oh.
But, like, it really is hit and miss. Like, I think 6 still to this day is very good.
Oh, very good.
6 is a good story.
The final boss is still the same guy you've been chasing this whole game, too. That's one thing. 6 and 7, they did that really well, in the sense that the villain that you know of throughout the whole game, just you keep going after them, they keep getting a bit stronger, whatever's happening, and that's who you end up with at the end. So that's always been why 6 and 7 are both good when it comes to the storytelling, at least with the villains. But 6 was, perfect whole story, beginning to end.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, 7 was, depending on, like, a lot of people love it. I wasn't too big a fan of it then, although it could have also just been I didn't get it when I was that younger. 8, I really should go back and play. Same with 9, because I really don't remember as much as I used to. But with 10, it really is like I have so many fond memories from 10, specifically, like, the first half of the game specifically is the big part of it. Just the very beginning of, like, the Otherworld song, that heavy metal track that plays really early on in the game that just kind of really sets the tone for things and gets you all amped up. The just unbelievable visuals. It was the first one to do voice acting, so there's also that. Obviously, like, I became a big Tara Strong stan over the years because of her role as Riku specifically. And then, even 10 has just had some staying power and other things, like Riku and Pain from Final Fantasy X-2 ended up being in Kingdom Hearts at some point. Obviously, 10's been a big part of other games like World of Final Fantasy, Dissidia, and many others. So it's definitely had, things throughout its lifespan, just not even including just the 2 games that have been made for it.
Oh, absolutely. And some of the best music, too, like Besaid, like that island, the music from that, but also even just the atmosphere from that, like the tropical, colorful.
Yeah, it was definitely
themes.
Different than what a lot of games have done. It's not to say that these things weren't done before, but there was such more of a focus on the tropical and, like, tribal instrumentation than most games do. Granted, again, we're talking about, the first one on PS2 where things really started to open up for music, but...
Yeah, true. They didn't have the technology for that before.
But because of, like, the current, like, atmosphere that they were in, with being a lot of, like, it was an island nation, basically, most of the game. So there was definitely a much different influence for the music. And it was so, like, a lot of it was very calming. Some of it was very uplifting. And then when it was time to get dark and mysterious and sad, oh boy, did they ever hit those.
Yeah. Holy crap. And they can breathe underwater almost forever.
Blitzball play, like, the average Blitzball, I recently, actually, ironically enough, I recently saw a story about how somebody broke the record for the longest time holding English, my God, holding your breath underwater. So what is the world record? Because I think it's 24 minutes, I think it was.
Really? Somebody did that?
The new record was done. This is from... Yeah, so this was in March of last year. And the record is currently at 24 minutes, 37 seconds.
Ooh, what?
So we can probably make a case that the average blitzball player in Final Fantasy like doubles that record.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. I've left the game running.
Well, I'm trying to think too. Wasn't the I mean, I guess you could technically say you probably don't have to, because if I remember correctly, there's only 2 halves and they're short. Let me quickly look up blitzball gameplay, because if there's ever an excuse to look up blitzball gameplay, this is it. How long are the halves in blitzball? I think they might be really short. Let's see here.
I can hear the music from the game inside my head.
Again, how good the music is. It's 5 minutes. Yeah, it's 5. So it's 10 minutes. So you know what? Really, they've only got to hold it for about 10 minutes at a time. They get in the water, they warm up, and then the game starts, and it's 5 minutes of game time.
Yeah.
I mean, with stoppages for goals, you know, maybe they have to be like pretty close to the record. Maybe if there's like delay of games, maybe they could beat the world record, but at that point they probably get out of the pool or come to the surface just to get out. And we don't know that if there's a pause in the game that they go above to the surface to catch their breath. So you know what?
True.
Maybe they aren't world record holders in breath holding. Maybe they just are regular athletes.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. A game I wouldn't want to play in real life because I would drown and die. I know that immediately.
I mean, why don't we just get a blitzball game square?
That would be a fun little game, as long as it's not $70 fucking. But if that thing was just like a fun game,
well, you know how like there's Blood Bowl, for example, right?
Yeah,
you could do something like this where it's just like like almost like a hybrid of like a strategy game, because that's really what blitzball is. It's kind of like a numbers crunch to see what's going to work. So you almost could do this game in like a Blood Bowl style, because you don't have to make it like super friggin' realistic looking. You could make this very arcadey and almost looking like a board game, charge $20-$30 for it. I think it would do actually pretty well. I mean, as we've seen, it's the original game has sold 20 million. So there's an audience there that might consider it. I'm pretty sure that you could get 1,000 concurrent players on Steam doing this.
Oh, easily. I would be one of them.
100% I'd be one of them.
Yeah, you and me. There's 2. That's 2 people. Come on, Square.
And I would understand the rules.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a strategy game I understand.
It's a sport I understand, unlike rugby.
And it also wouldn't be as easily OP, because as soon as you start playing blitzball at all in Final Fantasy X, and you just start, especially when you know where the better players are to start with, you can make this game easily broken.
Yes.
Especially if you have Tidus with the sphere shot and the Jex shot, you can basically go, okay, there are 3 people in my way. Excuse me while I hit this Jex shot that basically pounds all 3 of them out. Now I have an easy shot at this goalie. He only has 19 catch. I have 60 shot. He's not catching this.
No.
And then you just score. I may or may not have just royally abused that game back then.
Oh, I totally did.
Because you basically just have like the defender that can't like be beaten. You have a goaltender that almost can't lose, like unless something like they get a wide open shot in the odd time. And then you just have like a passer that is invincible and the shooter that will just get the open ball. Because what I would always do is go into the corner with my passer and draw all the defense out, so that Tidus is just sitting alone in the middle, and I would pass. They can't touch it. They try. They fail 9 times out of 10. And then Tidus just stands there and just goes, bam, goal.
Yeah.
And you win like 4 or 5-1 usually each game.
That sounds about what my strategy was too. I remember doing something very similar to that, with somebody having an incredibly good pass and then just having Tidus off to the side. Yeah.
Because
100%.
It's not like the game levels up with you. At least not as well as you obviously do.
Not
because
as well as you
certainly have some broken characters by the time you're done. If you especially if you complete everything, because I believe Walk has like a weapon that's tied to it if you get to like certain bits or something.
Yes, I think his ultimate weapon you had to win through Blitzball. Like I feel like it was the final prize or something.
Yeah, memory's a little fuzzy on that, but something akin to that. There was a point to playing it to death.
Yes, yeah, I think it was one of the ultimate weapons. I could be wrong, but there was a prize if you won all of them.
Now it wasn't as tedious or tedious as that 100 lightning strikes at the thunder planes that you need to do for an ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
Because that was a great thing, Square. Hey, let's make a thing that you have to do something 100 times in a row without failing. It takes a while. Also, we won't tell you how many times you've done it, so you have to guess.
Yeah. I actually did do that on
I did
Steam.
too.
I did it on the Steam version. I think I did on the PS2 version, but I very vividly remember doing it on Steam in like 2016. God.
And you're sitting there being like, I swear to God, if I only got 99, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah. Oh, brutal.
But otherwise, the only other thing, I mean, I guess to cap off Final Fantasy X, sweet game. Congrats for 20 million copies. We'll talk shit about you later, Square. Don't worry.
Yeah, when you release 16 and it's not as good as 10.
Yeah, it'll be back to normal shortly. But the only other piece of news retro-wise before we go into our favorite game, or favorite list, I guess, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection will be now officially released August 30th. So for those looking forward to that, we finally have an official date on that.
I'm very excited for that. Now that I played Shredder's Revenge and I'm all back into the beat 'em up TMNT, I want this collection too.
And if that ends up being really solid as well, like that's like if you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, you are on cloud fucking 9 right now with these games.
Yeah, that like to get a collection of all the old ones together and also get a brand new one so close to each other, like bonkers.
So for those those either unknown to this or just haven't remembered, 13 games are included in this package. So that includes the 89 NES game Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the beat 'em up arcade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles released in that same year. There's also an NES port, I think, that's also in this pack of the same arcade game. There's a Game Boy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Follow the Foot Clan, NES of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm going to start saying TMNT3 because it's going to be a pain in the ass if I try to say this over and over again. TMNT3, The Manhattan Project, the arcade and SNES versions of Turtles in Time, Game Boy version of TMNT. See, even this is hard. TMNT2, Back from the Sewers, Genesis copy of TMNT, The Hyperstone Heist, which I actually don't remember.
I never played that one on Genesis. I only played Nintendo versions of the games and arcade.
Also, the Game Boy game TMNT3 Radical Rescue, and the NES, SNES, and Genesis versions of Tournament Fighters. So 3 different versions of that, which I think is actually kind of neat. I know a lot of people will be like, it's kind of a cop, but it's not actually 13 games. You'd be surprised how different some of these are. Like, there are some games, like, just look up NBA Jam and how many different versions of that game there are, for example.
Oh, man.
So it's stuff like that like you'd be surprised how interesting it would be to play like just the different like versions of a game alone. Like just even playing the arcade and SNES versions of Turtles in Time is interesting to me.
Oh yeah,
just to see 100%. How they control alone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the arcade version has like a couple levels that the other one doesn't or something too, or I don't know. There's some feature that they had to take out for the Super Nintendo version.
And especially if you're into speedrunning, there are different glitches in those too.
That is true.
So there's also that part of it. But yeah, and again, like even just to play like Game Boy versions of games is also a wild thing, especially when they're going to be like their default color versions or not colored versions, because back in those days it was just the like, I guess black and white is the wrong way to say it. It was more like dark color and less darker color.
Yeah. I'm actually the most excited for the Game Boy part, which is the weirdest thing to say because there's like some crazy good games in there. And I'm excited for the whole thing. I had the TMNT games on NES, Super Nintendo. Like I had every single one almost. But I had one of those Game Boy games. I don't even remember which one it was. And I'd never beaten it because it was too fucking hard when I was a kid. And now I'm a bit older and in this collection, I don't know if there's save states or anything, but I'm beating that Game Boy game finally.
Yeah, the 100% I'm going to try that NES game again and make sure I can actually go through it. I will 100% stream myself trying to suffer through that for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely not beating that one.
I'm really looking forward to being able to, because I'm assuming there's online a capability for it. To be able to play the Tournament Fighters game would be awesome with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because I loved the Super Nintendo version of Tournament Fighters. It was great. Like, it was very underrated because obviously everybody was really just into Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat at that time.
Yep.
But I honestly think like Tournament Fighters was actually a lot of fun, and I think that's a really underrated game. So I was really happy to see that included because that's a game that I think a lot of people missed and really should take a look at.
Yeah, No, I want to play that, the Game Boy. I want to try the Manhattan Project, I think, TMNT 3. I'd never played that one before. I skipped 2 and went right to Turtles. I mean, I got 2, skipped 3, went right to Turtles in Time. The Game Boy version, and then like playing some Turtle in Time arcade or one of those 4-player ones. If we can play all that online, oh, us as a group, we're totally doing that too. So much TMNT this year.
Yeah,
So worth it.
I like that. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking forward to. It's just, again, like with a lot of these repackages, like some people were like, oh, who cares? They're old games. I'm like, even if it's for the nostalgia factor alone, like sometimes because they add things like online capabilities to these things, it's fun because now you're able to play with friends and not have to worry about setting play dates like you used to as a kid, because you'd own these games so often. And like, especially if it was a fighting game, or obviously a game like Turtles in Time or Maximum Carnage, if you want to go into other games like that too, where if you, especially if you're only a child, you were playing that alone all the time, and you could be two-playering it. But
Yeah.
depending on where you may have not lived near anybody, because you might have lived out in like the country. In my case, that was the case. Like the nearest person to me was like a 10-minute drive.
Yeah.
So to be able to do anything, like it wasn't that simple, because back in those days, it's not like the internet was really a thing. So you didn't really have the option. So to be able to go back and play some of these things, and even just to see just if you're any better or any worse at them too. That's how I felt playing Sonic 3 recently when I was doing that on for the channel, like way back, which is on the YouTube channel if you guys want to watch me horribly get through the entirety of Sonic 3. But like even then, like just going back and playing, like, wow, I am horrible at this game, even though I'm way better at games than I used to be. But then you realize, oh wait, I used to only own 7 games as a kid, so of course I was better then because it's all I had.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Got to practice.
But it is what it is. You deal with it. But yeah, I'm really excited to see that come out on the 30th of August. And yeah, like I haven't gotten to play Shredder's Revenge with you guys yet, so that's something that we need to fix also. But man, like if Shredder's Revenge is already this good and they can have a collection of all the retro games that are just as good, I cannot wait to have all of that stuff to pick from, because there's so much to choose from in that package alone.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
So
we'll have to get some TMNT going soon then.
yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, it's time
Uh-oh.
for the best part of the show, aka Chris's in quotations favorite part of the show. This week,
This is why I need coffee.
yeah, because the age thing is getting to you.
It is.
We got to make sure Grandpa doesn't fall asleep here,
For those in the video channel, Chris just fell asleep.
Well, this week in We're Old, I'm adding a few more games now to this list. So for those who are either haven't been here before or haven't heard the clarification of what happens with this list. So what we take is we go through a lot of release dates for games over the course of since 2002 on these days. So like obviously, even though it's technically the 21st, we'll pull the curtain back. It's the 23rd when this podcast gets released. So we go through the week that was, look at a lot of release dates from games since 2002, because that's what we consider to be retro, 20 years and beyond. And we look at games either from what was released in North America, Europe, or Japan, because we don't know where in the world you're listening to us from, so we don't want to make it seem like we're just going to care about North America. Also, that would make these lists really small some days, so we don't do that. And most of the games that we'll list are just, what we think are the bigger, like the bigger names. But now I'm going to start doing a few more extras in here, because sometimes there are dead moments. So I'm going to start putting in things either that I think are interesting or I think are funny. Because there are a couple games here that no one either knows about or no one thinks needs to be known about, but I do, because when I see a title, I go, what is this? I need to look into this. And this worked perfectly, because as we start here on the 17th of July, the first game on this list applies. Because for the PC in North America in 2000, a first-person shooter came out. And it looks a lot like your kind of Dooms, your Duke Nukems, like things of that nature. Now, on the video stream, you will see gameplay right now for it. And you're going to look at this and go, well, this looks pretty standard. This just looks like, kind of like, your first person, like Shadow Warrior, Doom, Duke Nukem kind of fare. Except this is a game called Kiss Psycho Circus The Nightmare Child. This is a Kiss game that was developed alongside their album Psycho Circus.
What? I did not know that exists.
And that's why it's on this list, because when I saw it, I went, what in the actual fuck is this? And
Yeah.
you know what? I'm not gonna lie, it looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think they just hit the wrong time to do that. That probably would have sold a lot better now.
I mean, there's a strange era of like metal music specifically. I guess Kiss isn't really metal. They're more like hard rock, classic rock, whatever you want to call them. But like Iron Maiden had a video game done as well.
Really?
It's not an abnormal thing. Yeah, like they have one. I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna try to find that in the meantime, while we talk further. But like, it's horrible, and it's known for being like when Iron Maiden, they spend all the budget on their pub trips, but when it comes to their video game graphics, they look horrible because it's a game called Ed Hunter, and it looks like a game that was made for PCs in like the early '90s. Because it's like a rail shooter, sort of,
Sort of. But
sort
the
of,
rail doesn't work.
but it doesn't look that great. If you're on the video side of things, you can see it right now. It's not great. It's not the best looking thing I've ever seen in my life. Because I believe,
brutal.
okay, it was released in '99. Okay, I'll apologize slightly. I can maybe give it a little bit, but still for 99, it looks like, when you see those games that like people make fun of on YouTube that are like from today, but they're made using like assets from the Unity engine.
Oh yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Oh,
That's
that's
kind of
not
the
good.
vibe it is. And yeah, like a lot of people were really excited because like, oh, a video game with Eddie, and Maiden fans collectively were like, oh, that's so cool. And then the game came and they're like, could have been better.
Could have been better.
Could have been better. But yeah, I saw the Kiss thing and I went, I need to look at what this is because holy shit, that's funny.
Yeah, that needed to be brought to our attention, and I'm glad you did, because
Well,
now I know.
there are much more important games to get to on this very day because there are actually 5 others. So let's get into some of those.
All right.
98 in Europe for the N64, Banjo-Kazooie was released, which is so ironic considering we talked about the game last week.
Yeah, because I just played through it for the first time.
Yeah.
That's perfect timing.
They heard you.
Look at that. They heard me in the past
I
to
mean,
release it.
I mean, really, technically, you could say it's almost perfect because when this episode released that you mentioned playing it, a day later, Banjo-Kazooie came out in Europe technically in 98. So you were almost on time.
I was almost on time.
We won't mention the Thursday thing again. What?
We won't.
No.
We don't record on Thursdays. That's silly.
Otherwise, 1997, 2 games for the PlayStation 1, both Japanese releases. There were a lot of Japanese releases in this entire list that we have this week. It just seems like Japan gets all the good stuff. It's true, though. They actually do. Especially when we go into the retro age, because so much more stuff was in Japan before it got given to us.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, 97, 2 PlayStation 1 games. First one is Clock Tower, which a lot of people will nope the fuck out of.
Yeah, nope.
Because
Nope,
isn't the big thing about Clock Tower the guy with the big scissors?
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a run of that, I think, on Games Done Quick. That's the only way I'll watch it, because it's more funny the way they're doing it and glitching it. Realistically, hells no. I ain't
Yeah,
playing
like
that
even
shit.
today, like it obviously looks terrible in comparison, but even then we're like, no, that makes it worse because now the graphics are awful and I'm scared.
Yeah, there's no enjoyment here.
But the other game, you'll like this one, obviously. Hotshots Golf.
Oh, love Hotshots Golf. Love it. Such a good franchise.
Better be a new one soon.
Yeah.
With Mario Golf doing as well as it is again on Switch, I would hope to see a new Hotshots. Even if there was like a free to play like thing where they just like, put some sort of subscription thing to it, or like if you got to pay for extra maps or cosmetics and stuff. Even then, like just to have something. Like I really do think that those kind of games have. It's not as niche as I think people sometimes think it is.
Yeah. No. I think that that's something that's got to come back. It's got to come back.
And then we move to 1992. Again, both Japanese releases with 2 different consoles. This one was a big one for me because I grew up with this one and sucked at it because it's a fucking hard game. But in 1992 for the Super Nintendo in Japan, the Hook video game came out.
Oh, damn.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
That game is fucking hard.
Yeah, that was hard. I never got very far.
Yeah, I think I might have gotten like 2 or 3 levels in. Kind of similar to
Yeah.
like I used to talk way back when we were doing the show about I think it was like a Rambo game on the 32X that like me and my brother when we were kids could only get to about level 3 because it was just so goddamn difficult. Hook,
Yeah.
similar thing. Because it's a platformer, side scrolling like beat 'em up game with a really interesting and difficult to kind of gauge jumping mechanic where you float a lot, so it's really hard to pin down your speed and your direction. So when you mix that with platforming and people trying to kill you, not always easy. And this gameplay that's showing up on the video version is making it look easy and making me very upset right now.
It turns out it's actually super easy.
I'm sure somebody's probably did a run of it in GDQ at some point. You know what? Let me look that up for my own hatred. Yeah, somebody's done it in 16 minutes. And putting that in my queue so I watch that and get really upset later.
Good idea. Good idea.
In the meantime, though, the last game on this list, because it is a gimmick that I keep doing on this show, it is a very blanket statement cartridge sports games that Nintendo puts out, but not an NES one. No, 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 no. This is 1992. So for the Game Boy, Track and Field.
Oh my God. Oh, Nintendo got there and they were like, no one has used this name yet. Fuck yeah.
It's still funny to me just going back and looking at games, and it was the most basic shit. Now you have every game in the world trying to have the most unique long name possible.
Yeah, it's like track and field 352 over 8 times 15 HD remix 2.8.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I can't even do it. I can't even fake it.
Well, we move on to the 18th of July. One game on this list before we get into some massive lists after that. 2002 release for the PlayStation 2 in Japan, Ape Escape 2, which I've actually never played either of the Ape Escape games, but I've seen a lot of good things about them. Even the reference of them in Metal Gear Solid games, of all things, which was interesting.
Yeah, I played a little bit, but mostly have just seen a lot of it, probably in speed runs and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So we move on to the 19th. There are a couple of smaller ones, and then there are some names in here. So we got some good ones here for you. So to start off, 2002 for the GameCube in Europe, Gauntlet: Dark Legacy for those who are obviously big D&D fans.
Mm-hmm.
But then also for GameCube, but in Japan, certain kind of big game. I'll test you to see if you know this game. You ever heard of that game, Super Mario Sunshine?
Nope.
No, okay. Well, it's a game of it's a Mario game that it's got a love-hate relationship with its player base because again, some gamers when it comes to things they like don't take change very well. Yeah. Even though I've played Sunshine, I think it's one of the best in my opinion. I love Sunshine.
I've actually just never played it. Not because I refuse to, just because I
only didn't get that stupid 3D collection that they put out on Switch, Chris?
Oh no, I have that stupid collection. I haven't loaded up Sunshine.
You just haven't played it yet.
No, I bought it because I was like, it's gonna disappear. I need to have it. I want Mario 64. And then it's in the backlog. That's where it is. Let's be honest.
The backlog that will never be touched.
Yeah, it'll never go. I'll play it in 40 years.
Well, that was one big game. You ready for another one?
Mm-hmm.
And this one's even more ironic. Even just the coincidence on this one is too perfect. That's why when I saw this, I found the article first and then did my list and saw this. Final Fantasy X came out in 2001 in Japan.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
So, that's just really ironic.
Well, I hope that after that release they did really well and go on to sell 20+ million copies.
Yeah, that they might have. Otherwise, another big one, although not as much at the time. In Japan, it probably was, but for us, it wasn't too big a deal because it didn't really make a lot of waves in North America. Because if you were playing JRPGs on the SNES, you were playing Final Fantasy and that was it. Or Chrono Trigger, I should say, sorry. Almost forgot. But Square forgot, so that's why I'm forgetting. But Star Ocean, the original one for Super Nintendo, came out in 96 in Japan.
Oh, wow.
And I still have not played it because I don't believe it's had proper English translation. There are fans translations, but I don't know if it's had official English translations here.
I have no idea. I've definitely not played that one. Definitely not.
Let me actually look this up because I'm now very curious. Did this ever get a re-release? I don't. Oh, it came out as First Departure. That's right. So you can play it on PSP,
Oh, yes, 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 yes,
but
yes. I
technically the
remember that
original
release.
version is not.
Yeah, yeah, it did come out on PSP. I remember that.
Now, the next game is only included because I saw this GDQ because I actually watched it, but I just put it there just because, again, I thought it was interesting to me that it was very recently thought in my brain. Japan released 1991 on the NES, The Little Mermaid, which, again,
Uh,
was done on GDQ, so that was just a cool little thing that I saw.
I love the Disney block on GDQ. So good.
But then we go to another big game. Now I'm going to test your knowledge again on this one. So this is a Japanese release on Super Nintendo 91. Tell me if you've ever heard of the game Final Fantasy 2. Or sorry, I
What?
meant 4. Sorry, I meant 4.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say.
Because Square
Oh,
hates us and was like, you're too
yes.
stupid to play 2 and 3. Which, to be fair, I've played 2 and 3. They're actually pretty fucking hard, so.
They are hard. I do like the re-releases of them that made them easier. The original level up system for Final Fantasy II was stupid.
2
Oh
and
my god.
3 are you don't if you want to play every Final Fantasy game, you could skip 2 and 3 and probably not miss much.
I like the music in 3. Play 3 just for a little bit of music.
Yeah,
Actually, I think you can just go to the world map once and leave it running for a bit, and then you can turn it off.
there you go. There you go. Problem solved. And then the last thing on this list, also Super Nintendo in Japan in 91, The Legend of the Mystical Ninja.
Oh my god, yes.
And I love that game. I actually like both of them, but this isn't the N64 one, unfortunately,
No,
because
this
that
is the
one's
Super.
great. But the Super Nintendo one's still pretty decent.
Yeah, I've actually played that with a friend of ours and not got very far. It was very fucking hard.
Again, yep, hard games
Yeah.
back in the day.
Oh, but so colorful and fun and just bonkers fun. Oh, so bonkers.
So that was a list of 7. You ready for another list of 7 for the 20th?
Wow, this is game month. Yeah,
This
let's
is
do
this
it.
is also a lot of games you may have forgotten or didn't realize that they were on other consoles. But here we go. 2001. This one is just normal. European release of the PlayStation 2. I think we might have mentioned this twice already, but Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec came out.
Okay, yeah.
So I know we mentioned it at least once. We might have done both the Japanese and North American releases already. I know we've done one of them for
Probably.
sure.
Probably.
But that's in 1990. We go all the way, so we jump 11 years. I didn't know this was on the NES because this is a Sega game. I didn't know Altered Beast was on NES.
Sorry, what?
Altered Beast in 1990 in Japan was released on NES. I did not know there was a Nintendo release for it
What?
because
My
I thought it
mind
was a
just
Master
blew.
System game.
Yeah.
So I just assumed it was there, so they never shipped it out.
Yeah. I'm looking that up after this podcast. I need to know more about that.
Yeah, because apparently it's been for a lot of things. Let me actually look up how many different things it was on because it was on quite a few. And I was surprised by that because I thought it was like that case of it was only on a couple of things. So this is the full list from them. From Wikipedia, it was arcade initially, and then
Yeah.
MS-DOS, Amstrad CPC, which I've never heard of before, MSX, NES, Atari ST, Amiga, Master System, Genesis, PC Engine, Commodore 64, and Game Boy Advance. I only knew about the Sega one.
I only played it on. Yeah, I knew about the Sega one. It's on every Sega Genesis collection that comes out. It's like, here's Altered Beast. I assumed it was a launch title and it was like a Sega original.
Yeah.
What the hell? My entire childhood means nothing now.
Well,
Nothing.
True.
I will no longer rise from my grave.
Well, in the meantime, you can also consider this other game that came out in 1990, which I didn't know had a Game Boy port, but Double Dragon in Japan was a thing in 90.
Oh, I think I did see the Game Boy. I never
I mean,
played it. I
Double
remember
Dragon
thinking-
makes sense. That's definitely a handheld game.
Yeah. I mean, on a Game Boy, that'll be pretty rough, but
In 1990 as well, also Japanese releases. Like I said, so much Japan in these lists. Metal Gear Solid 2 Solid Snake for the MSX2 machine, which was like a really old computer machine.
Yeah, the original Metal Gear 2, not the same one we got.
No, we're not talking about Metal Gear Solid 2.
No.
Metal Gear 2.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people forget that Metal Gear Solid isn't the first.
No, they think it was. Because there was a pretty big gap. I mean, it's not that big.
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair, most people have never seen anything about them. I mean, we talked about it last week. They should re-release these.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think they had them on Metal Gear Solid 3, like one of the collections. You could play them in there. But, I mean, that was like hidden within another game.
Yeah.
They got to just release them as their own
Put
thing.
that as a re-release on a PlayStation Premium there, Sony.
Yeah.
That'll do. Anyways, moving on. Another game that I totally forgot that existed because why would you? Because the originals weren't great compared to at least the couple of new ones when they rebooted it. But for PC in Japan, the original Prince of Persia game,
Ooh.
which
Wow.
I've played, it's horrible.
Yeah, I don't remember that being good.
So it wasn't really until they rebooted it with Sands of Time for the PS2 that it was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, that's when it was actually fun.
And then we go on to a couple of but kind of interesting games. 1988 NES release in Japan, Bionic Commando,
Oh yeah.
which most people remember for the reboot that no one asked for,
Yeah, that reboot. What the hell? What
where
the
the
hell?
art, where the actual like the bionic arm is actually your wife. Oh, that game. And then last but not least, 1987, also NES release in Japan. Fantasy Zone, which people will know for one of two things. Either if you played the Yakuza games, it's usually in the Sega arcades, or
Yeah.
it's actually about to get re-released in the new Sega Genesis Classic thing that they're putting out. So they're doing, I think it's Sega Genesis Classic 2, so it's actually
Yeah.
like going to have more stuff in it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
they're doing
another thing where that's known from.
Yeah, I first discovered that game when I was playing Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing or whatever. There was, I think, the one character from Fantasy Zone, or like there was a track from Fantasy Zone, and I went in and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
And then
it's not like it's a special game. It's
No.
something that just seems to kind of have like appearances randomly in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's just like a Sega staple because it's like them paying homage to themselves.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Well, that's the 20th. We still got 3 days to go. Here we are on the 21st.
Wow.
And then we get into Mario was busy in this day. So
Okay.
2001 Japanese release. Again, this entire list is Japan. I swear to God, there's not a goddamn thing for North America in this list. Game Boy Advance Mario Kart Super Circuit, which was basically my play this in the car when I was doing 1-2 hour drives in the back seat. Love the crap out of that game.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good one.
N64 in 2000 Japanese release Mario Tennis, which we all know is the game that we played at McDonald's Play Place a lot.
Hell yeah, it was. Hell yeah, it was. I was 17, but it worked. Didn't matter.
You still go to McDonald's, you walked into that Play Place because you're only there for the N64. You don't care that you can't fit in the damn slide, which I remember doing once when I worked an overnight shift. Holy crap, how did I do that as a kid so much?
Yeah.
I just had I probably also was in much better shape as a kid than I was when I was a teenager, so there's also that.
Yeah, it was the kid-like jeans. That's what it was.
Yeah. Especially because I would probably do that in jeans, which was also stupid. But anyways, 1999 Japanese release on N64. We've mentioned this before. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I still love that game.
That is the only good thing of that prequel trilogy. That one game.
And that's it.
Yeah. And it's also the part I hate in the movie the most. It's very conflicting in my mind.
I actually think the pod racing bar is one of the only things I like from the movie.
Yeah.
Moving on. Remember the thing I mentioned about games that, most people wish that didn't exist that we shouldn't bring up? So 1995 in Japan.
Here we go.
There was a certain peripheral that is notorious for being one of the dumbest things that Nintendo ever came up with.
1995.
The Virtua Boy.
Oh, God.
And ironically, because we mentioned Mario Tennis for the N64, in 1995 for the Virtua Boy, Mario's Tennis came out on the Virtua Boy.
Yep. Oh, God. My friend, like my best friend growing up, he bought that as a launch system. Like we went to GameStop, EB Games, the morning of, skipped the beginning of school and bought that and went to his house to play it. And oh my God. What the hell, Nintendo?
I didn't ask for audio, so if anybody heard some sound in there, YouTube decided it wanted to play audio, even though I've muted it. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just show the people how dumb this thing was.
Now I want to buy one randomly. I want to like grab it, buy it, set it up, and play it and relive how horrible it is.
You look at the game, it doesn't look bad if that was the game on, say, like an SNES. Like, if they had this on SNES, this could have worked.
Oh yeah, it wasn't the games that were bad.
It was the goddamn peripheral.
It was a stupid system. Like, what? I don't like. Is it? It's not a portable system, but you're supposed to wear it on your head, I guess.
And now that I'm actually looking at this gameplay, I am actually thinking, why didn't they make this for SNES?
Yeah.
Like, because it doesn't look bad. Like, in all honesty, you put some good coloring on this. This could actually have been a decent game for SNES back then.
Yeah, like I remember playing a couple of the games and really enjoying it. If it wasn't for the red color and severe headache I started getting trying to play it. Also, keeping your head right in there, because if you went a bit back, it started to blur. You had to like be right up. Oh, that was brutal.
Just silly.
Yeah, that is definitely
that
Nintendo's worst
that is
console.
one of those things that throughout history will remain infamous and not famous.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Two more things on this list, though. PC release in Japan. I'm pretty sure both of us have probably played this at some point because you would see this a lot on like MS-DOS and stuff. 98 Battle Chess.
Oh, Battle Chess. I have that on Steam. I tried playing it a year and a half ago. There's no way to turn the computer down. I was only able to win once, and I played for like 20 hours.
Hard as shit.
Yeah. Like, I played chess in real life. I'm decent at it. Like, I'm not great or anything, but at least I feel like normal.
Maybe that's what all the chess masters play.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, the computer, there's no, like, oh, beginner level, anything. It goes for the move that will kill you every time.
Could you say that Battle Chess goes for the jugular?
Yeah, it does. It does go for the... It was very cool to watch the pieces just destroy each other.
Yeah. It used to scare me as a kid.
Yeah, as a kid, I used to play, me and my dad would play. And now I'm thinking back, and there's no way in hell we ever actually won once. There's no way. If I did as a kid, I'm incredibly impressed with myself.
Right?
Yeah, because that is one of those games where they, like, a difficulty setting would have been fantastic.
1 freaking 100%. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, I love it. I would love to play it again, but not when it's going to whip my ass 10 ways from Sunday. That doesn't sound as fun.
You can get it on Steam for like $2 or something, I think, when it's on sale. It's pretty ridiculous.
But why do that when I could totally boot up an emulator and play this last game? Because for the NES in Japan in 1986, I could play volleyball.
What the hell? What year was this?
1986.
Oh, for fuck.
It's the gimmick that never ends. It just keeps on giving.
Oh, God. And then, like, we're going to go a whole year of this show, and they're all going to come back. They're all still going to be on the list. It's going to be like, hey, guess what? We talked about it a year ago, but volleyball came out.
God damn right it is. All right, moving on. We got the 22nd. These 2 days, the last 2 days here, they're much shorter. But if I double check them, they're all Japanese releases. What a surprise. So apparently in this week, Japan like got all the good stuff. That's all you can learn from history from listening to this podcast. But anyways, 1999, Misadventures of Trombone on the PS1. I've never played that because it's also really expensive and hard to find. But if anybody's played the Mega Man Legends games, you know of Tron.
Yep.
Not that Tron, the other Tron. And then for the original Game Boy in Japan, Mega Man 5 came out in 1994.
Yes, the Game Boy versions of Mega Man. That's where they did like the Roman numeral, I think, for...
Yeah, it was Mega Man V specifically.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I love that's how they separated it out.
It's so weird. Again, naming conventions back in those days specifically got really confusing.
Yeah.
But then last but not least, we end in today's date. Yes, the actual today's date, not this recording date. We won't talk about that. But all of these games are in 93. And all of them are for different consoles, but all still in Japan because that's the gimmick here.
Okay.
So, first one, NES Puyo Puyo.
Oh, yeah. Love that game.
Classic.
Classic.
Another classic for the Genesis, Road Rash 2.
Oh, wow.
That's a game I would like to see come back. Not in a realistic form. I'd still like to see the arcadey kind of Road Rash.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You could definitely do something neat with that. And then also for the Super Nintendo, Wing Commander.
Oh, wow. Oh, so many good. See, this is like hit me in the nostalgia this day. These are some games I haven't thought of since like the 90s for sure.
I still remember playing Road Rash a bunch as a kid for the Genesis because as a kid, you're just thinking, this is so cool. I'm on a motorcycle. I already like this. And I can beat the shit out of people. Wapong, wapong, wapong.
Yeah.
And you just, even if there's nobody there, you still hit the button because it's fun.
Oh, always.
And then you end up running into the back of a police car and you go flying across the screen and you just giggle anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a good game.
But that is it. We're done. A long list is in the can. I'm going to start doing this more often where if I find weird and funny stuff, I'm 100% looking it up.
I like the funny ones too. They add a little bit of humor in my sadness of how old I am.
Yeah, go check out Kiss Psycho Circus, whatever the last bit of it was.
Yeah.
Because come on, don't you want to play a first-person Kiss game? Come on.
Yeah, I do.
But I think what people want the most is they want this podcast to be over because we've been just depressing people with their age. So we are going to end this show as we come around the 1 hour, 15-minute mark. I guess it kind of works out because we did some news stories and then we did the retro stuff. So, hey, slightly longer show, but it makes up for missing Pixel Play, which should be back next week. Just both me and Caitlin had some illnesses to deal with, so there's that.
Oh, yeah.
So with that being said, thank you so much for checking out this episode of Cartridge Quarters. So if you want to learn more about us, you can go to our Linktree. That is linktree/pixelplaypodcast, linktr.ee/pixelplaypodcast. That gets all of our socials, linked to our email if you want to send us questions, linked to our Discord. If you want to complain about Square Enix more there, you can cover that stuff as well. And then if you're listening to this on any audio platform, if you can give that a rating, please do so. Otherwise, share with your friends. And if you're listening on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more stuff. And stay tuned for next week's episode where we probably won't say nice things about Square again. That'll go away. Everything will be completely back to normal next week. And we're gonna find out that, I don't know, like 16's getting delayed or something, and it'll be funny.
Yes.
Even though it's nothing to do with retro, it's just a reason for us to stick it to Square again for no apparent reason.
Just gotta keep doing it.
So yeah, enjoy whatever you are playing in retro. It is obviously a Saturday morning, so go enjoy your nostalgia fix, and we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.